everyone. Yesterday we worked on adding and subtracting fractions, and we did it using models. If you did not watch that lesson, you need to go back and watch it, because on it, it reinforces what we're doing here, okay? So when you're adding and subtracting fractions, we're going to follow a set of steps. So when adding and subtracting fractions or mixed numbers, first make sure you have a common denominator. So when you talk about a common denominator, remember that means we're looking for the same size pieces, okay? Common denominator. After you have that common denominator, you're going to make equivalent fractions, meaning if your denominator changes, your numerator will change, okay, by the same factor. Once we have our equivalent fractions, we're going to add and subtract the numerators, depending on if you're doing an add problem or a subtraction problem. Bring over the denominator. The denominator will not change. And then make sure you don't forget, this is an easy one to forget, add or subtract the whole numbers. Don't forget that, okay? The very last step, if you get up to here, at least you have half credit. The rest of it's going to come from making sure your answer is written in simplest form. So you want to see if your answer will simplify. Always write it in simplest form, okay? So double check to make sure that your answer is simplified. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy this and put this on the other screen. You should have this written down in your notes. If not, I want you to pause this video and make sure it is written, okay? So do that now. Pause this video and make sure these steps are written down. This is what we're going to be referencing whenever we add and subtract fractions. I'm going to paste it over here. Drag it here. Okay, so we're going to go back and we're going to delete this. And we're going to try to solve our problem here. Okay, so try using the steps above and we're going to solve this. So as a reminder, step 1, we're looking for a common denominator. So in order to find a common denominator, some of you can look at this and you can figure it out really quickly what it is. If not, then you need to write out your multiples, okay? Now some teachers say to multiply those two and you'll get 80. 80 is good, but there is one that's actually smaller, okay? So if you want to use 80, you can. You will have to simplify further, okay? So 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2, 8 times 3, 8 times 4, 8 times 5. I normally start with 5 numbers and see if that's enough. If it's not, I'll come back to it. 10 times 1, 10 times 2, 10 times 3, 10 times 4. Ooh, and I don't have to go any further because there it is. That's the least common multiple. That's the smallest number that 8 and 10 will go into, okay? So we found our common denominator. Okay, make equivalent fractions. So what that is saying is the 8 became a 40, right? 8 times what gives you 40? And that would be 8 times 5. So that means I actually have to multiply the top and bottom by 5. That's how we make it equivalent. Okay, so 5 times 5, 25. I'm going to go on and throw this in here. Put a little minus sign because I'm not going to have enough room for my whole number there. I should have planned that out a little better. You know what? I'll just actually move it over a little bit. That way I have room for it. Now, 10 times what gives me 40? Times 4. So I have to multiply the top by 4. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. That's how you keep it equivalent. 3 times 4, 12. Okay, and my whole number is 2. I don't want to forget that. So now I have my equivalent fractions. So now I'm going to add or subtract, and I think in this case it's subtract. So now we have same size pieces. So if you remember yesterday, basically it would be a circle that has 40 pieces. Okay, I have 25 and I'm taking away 12. So I want to subtract 25 take away 12. What is 25 take away 12? Hopefully you got 13. Then bring over the denominator, which is 40. Then add or subtract the whole number, so we're subtracting this time. 5 minus 2, no regrouping here. 3. Last but not least, see if you can simplify. So 13, guys, 13 is prime. I can only multiply 1 and 13. There's nothing else. So I cannot divide this by 13, so that is my answer. 3 and 13 over 40. Okay? So now we're going to try the next one. We're going to do the same thing, but instead this time we are going to be adding. So again, let's go back to our notes. When adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numbers, first make sure you have a common denominator. So I can already tell these are different. And again, if you know what it is, you do not have to go through this process. However, you can also multiply those two, and I'm going to let you know if you do that, that's 108. There's definitely one that's smaller than that, okay? So I just like to list mine. Like I said, I'm going to take it out 5 spaces. 9, 9 times 2, 9 times 3, 9 times 4, 9 times 5. Notice how quick it is if you know your tables. 12, 12 times 2, 12 times 3. Oh, look, I can actually stop. My LCD, my least common denominator, is 36. I'm going to space this a little better this time. Okay, so I have my denominator. Now, I have my denominator, so now I'm going to make equivalent fractions. So, 12 times what is 36? 12 times 3. So 5 times 3 is 15. Now I do the same thing here. 9 times what is 36? Hopefully you know that's 9 times 4. If you don't, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have to multiply the top by 4. Remember, if you do it to the denominator, you do it to the numerator. If you do it to the numerator, you do it to the denominator. Okay? So I'm going to make sure I do not forget my whole number. So I just made equivalent fractions here. So after making equivalent fractions, we're going to add or subtract the numerators. And this time I see add. I don't know why I have that add sign twice. So I don't know why I have my highlighter either. Okay, so your job is to add the numerators. 15 plus 16. What do you get? Hopefully you're getting 31. I don't know why I put that on the bottom though. 31. And then on the bottom, bring over the denominator. Now, last step, not last step, but second to last step, add or subtract the whole numbers. Add 3 plus 6, just double checking to make sure I wrote it right, 9. And now the last step, Check to see if your answer will simplify. Always check that. I hate for you to get this far and then not get your full credit. 31 prime. The only thing I can multiply to get 31 is 1 times 31. So, and that won't divide by 31. So that, everyone, is how you add and subtract fractions. So what I want you to do is I'm going to be giving you a problem, and I want you to walk through the process of how you would solve it. You can definitely use your notes to help you and guide you in your writing, okay? So make sure you have your steps written down. If you don't, go back and pause the video.